What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. So, we have our Oscar nominations for the 2020 Academy Awards, and oh man, it has been, as expected, somewhat of an uproar online. Now, honestly, not as bad as I have seen over the last couple of years, but with every Oscar nominations, with every award ceremony in general, there are always going to be snubs. Now today, I'm going to separate these into two categories when I talk the snubs that I believe at least warrant a tad bit of discussion, should at least be in the topic of conversation. So basically, what do I believe never really had a shot in the first place, but should have had a chance to get nominated for these Academy Awards? What do I believe actually got snubbed? Was in the running, people just overlooked it, they voted for something else, and that's fine. I'm not sitting here saying that the choices are wrong, but maybe I would have done it another way. And this is not to say there weren't some great surprises within the Oscars, so I need those comments down below. But this is a snubs video. What were your biggest snubs with this year's Oscars? And if you guys enjoy this video, if you want more Oscar coverage, and of course my predictions are coming soon, be sure to hit that thumbs up button, and we'll definitely do more. Okay, so let's get right into this. We're going to start at the bottom of this list and just kind of work our way up. But before we do that, I do want to talk about some overall snubs, things that I believe never really had a huge chance to get nominated, but hurt my soul that there just wasn't any consideration. So really, three movies in general that just did not get the love this year that I thought could slip their way in. And those movies are Uncut Gems, one of my favorite films of the year, just no love whatsoever. Honey Boy, which I thought was incredible. I thought at least some love for possibly best screenplay. I know it didn't have much of a shot, but Honey Boy is a wonderfully made movie. But The Farewell is the real one where I thought it was... I think a lot of people thought it was going to get multiple nominations across the board, from Awkwafina to Zhao Shuzhen, and nothing. None of them. This film was completely overlooked this year, and it's almost like every single year the A24 movies are just kind of the bottom of the barrel when it comes to the Oscars, and that's a major shame, man. I mean, The Lighthouse got in for cinematography, which is awesome, but nothing else from The Lighthouse. A lot of people will argue Robert Pattinson, Willem Dafoe. I mean, I didn't really think they had a chance coming in, but that's because people have been overlooking them all along the way, and I'm just like, guys, you're missing out on some of the best things I've seen this year. The Lighthouse, Uncut Gems, you want to throw in a Midsommar, you want to throw in some of these other, of course, The Farewell, but a lot of A24 movies that got snubbed this year, along with Honey Boy, and then a few other movies overall in general as well. But let's get into some of these specifics here. So, one thing, I don't know if a lot of you all have seen Wild Rose, but Glasgow, I believe, is one of the songs that stood out to me as one of the best of the entire year. That got overlooked for Best Song. Shia LaBeouf, whether it's Peanut Butter Falcon or Honey Boy, both performances were overlooked. I would have said Honey Boy, but no, not even a lot of consideration for this year's awards. You look at a movie like Waves, Kelvin Harrison Jr., two great films this year, two great performances, and Sterling K. Brown, who was just phenomenal in that film. That's a big bummer for me as well. Eddie Murphy. And going into the nominations, nobody really thought he had a chance because there were so many people above him, but he gave a great performance in Dolomite Is My Name. We'll get into these other guys when we run across these, but Noah Baumbach for director, that was a major bummer. Christian Bale is another one that we'll probably talk about, but I do want to give a little shout out to Florence Pugh for Midsommar, who is one of my favorite performances of the year. And I know last year with Toni Collette, I figured there wouldn't be a shot, but she did get in for Little Women. And I think part of the reason is because she gave so many great performances this year, from Fighting With My Family, Midsommar, Little Women, obviously, which is the one that she got in for, but she was so good in that movie. Florence Pugh is just having herself a year. But I do want to run up through some of these categories and just talk about things that possibly missed out on these awards. For original screenplay, a lot of these were fairly obvious to me. I had them either in my honorable mentions or my top 5 predictions going in, and that's what I'll bring up with a lot of these. But yeah, once again, The Farewell, that's the real one for me that missed out, and I was just so bummed about. And even though there was a lack of love in a lot of other categories, this is the one that kind of shocks me looking back on the nominations. For adapted screenplay, not as difficult to predict. I thought the only one that had a shot getting in maybe over the Two Popes was A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, but this one is fairly explanatory. Visual effects. Now, here's one of my predictions video. I'm like, could Alita Battle Angel get in there? There was a possibility because a lot of people were talking about that film, got in a few of the award ceremonies for the nominations, but at the end of the day, I'm not shocked by any of these nominations. 1917 took that spot. 1917 deserves that spot because I just thought the way that they seamlessly weaved this movie together was phenomenal. So no major movies left out in that category. Next up, sound mixing and sound editing. These were two that I didn't really have clear predictions for. I'm a tad bit shocked that Uncut Gems was overlooked in these categories because I thought the sound design, especially the beginning and the end of that movie, in both places, editing or mixing, either category would have been awesome. And this is the one where everybody's saying, well, Joker got way too many nominations. And I'm not going to say whether I agree or disagree with that just because I don't want to get into that right now. But if I would have taken one off of here, it probably would have been Joker for both categories, put on Uncut Gems. But these do not offend me, these nominations. Maybe Avengers Endgame, there's some great sound design in there. But overall, pretty solid categories. Moving on to production design and Best Original Song. I'm okay with this production design group, man. 1917, gorgeous. Jojo Rabbit, awesome and timely. Parasite, duh. The Irishman, duh. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, duh. So yeah, those don't offend me at all. Once again, Best Original Song. Wild Rose was just overlooked, in my opinion. This isn't a category that I have a huge attachment to, but I wanted I'm Gonna Love Me Again from Rocket Man, and I wanted Into the Unknown from Frozen, because, but I do like seeing the Randy Newman song, I Can't Let You Throw Yourself Away. I thought that was really, really well done. So, music category, as expected, pretty much. Best Original Score. And this, for me, is the definition of as expected. This is just, I think, what a lot of people thought was going to happen. That fifth slot was open. Was it going to be Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker? Was it going to be Us? It ended up going to Star Wars, although I think in a couple of years, people are going to be thinking about how iconic, or almost iconic, that Us theme song is, man. A great horror theme song. But the real disappointment for me in this category is something that I don't even think ever had a shot, but that was Alan Silvestri for Avengers Endgame. Say what you will about Endgame. I think the movie is so much fun, and I think his score is just absolutely phenomenal. He's been consistent all throughout the MCU. I don't even think he's ever gotten a nomination for any of the movies in the MCU, and it just... Man, it really, really bothers me that they're overlooking him, most likely because it's a big blockbuster comic book movie. And of course, there's not a score that can work for a big blockbuster comic book movie. I also believe you look at a movie like Back to the Future, that didn't win Best Score. And look at how iconic that theme song is now, one of the most memorable themes of all time. So I feel like it's going to be that way with Avengers Endgame. Just a major bummer that some of these films are getting overlooked because they're not prestigious enough. But once again, if I had to take one out, it would be tough to take one out for Alan Silvestri. I really, really do love what John Williams did for Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. I would have put Silvestri in there just because, never happened before. Would have been nice to see. But still, an okay category. I'm definitely in the Joker camp, or the 1917 camp. I'll give you guys that in my predictions video. But makeup and hairstyling, no surprises here. Maleficent was a bit of a shock, but not a bad one necessarily. And Joker as well, I was like, okay, but they did make it look timely, so no major surprises in that category. International feature film, as expected, that is the Parasite category. We know it's most likely going to win. Film editing was a bit of a shock for me. I did not see Joker getting in. And I did not see Jojo Rabbit getting in. I'm not appalled with these two nominations, but I, for one, and I had not a back and forth on Twitter last night, but there were so many people because I tweeted something out about 1917 that won the award for film editing at another awards show, Critics' Choice Awards. And I'm absolutely okay with that. It wasn't my number one choice in this category. I'm not going to give away who I would pick, but I would not pick 1917 to win film editing, but I was okay with it. And I just tweeted out that I was okay with it. And a lot of people were getting on to me saying, Austin, it was all pre-planned, it was all visual effects, it was all cinematography, and you're absolutely right. It is all of those things. But if you're trying to tell me that the people in that editing room weren't trying to pull their hair out every single day working on 1917 because it was such a difficult movie to edit together and make it look as seamless as they did, and once again, I know a lot of it's cinematography. I know a lot of it's visual effects. And I know some of these other films are probably higher than 1917 in that category. But I do see that movie as a snub, and I really expected it to get in this category, guys. I don't know why I'm so bummed about this. I probably shouldn't be this bummed. It wasn't my choice to win, but I thought 1917... I also had Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in there, but I'm okay with either Joker or Jojo Rabbit getting in over that. It'll win other categories, sure enough. So if you guys notice, I'm skipping over the live-action film short, the animated film short, the short subject documentary, just because I don't have enough of an insight to give an opinion on those. So I'm going to skip them. I'm not trying to offend anyone. Documentary, kind of the same case. I was a little bit... shocked that Apollo 11 wasn't on there, but seeing movies like American Factory and The Cave, that is expected. But once again, man, Apollo 11, that movie experience just blew me away. And then we come to the directing category. Woo, should I go down this route? So as I said in my reaction, Irishman, 1917, Hollywood, Parasite, expected. It was that fifth slot. The fifth slot was really giving everyone a hard time. And for me, a director like Lulu Wang, that's right, I went from Wang to Wong, and then apparently I was saying it wrong both times, so I looked it up, and some people are saying Wang, so that's what I'm going to say, Lulu Wang. Noah Baumbach, I think both of those directors deserved a shot. Greta Gerwig was my pick to get into this fifth slot, and I ain't going down the route of who deserves it because it's a woman, who deserves it because it's a man. I'm not going to go down that. But I do think that Gerwig's direction for Little Women was really fantastic, and I was shocked that they didn't put her in that fifth slot, just because of what they're trying to do. Now, who would I prefer in the fifth slot? If you're asking me, Austin, who would you want? I'd say Lulu for The Farewell, but she wasn't getting in because The Farewell got overlooked for almost every category. So Todd Phillips getting in for The Joker, and I texted a friend this a while ago, it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't even offend me all that much. Personally... Oh, here he goes. Personally, I thought he did a great job with Joker. Now, would I put him in that spot over some of these other directors? Probably not. Noah Baumbach especially. But I'm not super upset. I think that's going to be the big debate online is, did Todd Phillips deserve a director nom? And that's absolutely understandable. His direction was not for everyone in this film, and a lot of people say Joaquin carried the movie, and I have to agree with that. But that's going to be one of the big debates of the day, is whether Todd Phillips deserved it or not. Just a lot of people in consideration that did not get it, man. And these names that I'm looking at that just didn't get in, I'm just like, man. But once again, not appalled with the nominations. That's what I'll say. So we move on to costume design. And no major shockers here. Little Women, Hollywood, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Irishman. Great use of costume design in those films. Cinematography. The only one that I did not pick was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I had Ford v. Ferrari barely over it in that fifth slot, but no major surprises here. Actually, one surprise, and that's The Lighthouse. I'm so happy A24 got some sort of representation in this award show. If it deserved anything, it deserved cinematography. My goodness, what a beautiful movie, but we all know who's going to win this category. It is most likely going to be 1917. Here we go. Animated feature film. And I understand if you're upset. A lot of people are saying Frozen 2 did not get in, and that is a thing online right now. And I get it. A movie like Missing Link, yeah, maybe you could argue that it would be over, but I Lost My Body and Klaus got in, okay? If that means Frozen 2 didn't get in for me, fine. I Lost My Body, and I love Klaus, and I'm so happy they got the representation, the unexpected representation. And I thought there was a chance. I Lost My Body in my fifth spot, but I'm like, nah, no way. No way they put Klaus in just because they've not been marketing, and I think people are going to overlook it, and every single year it feels like the animated category is kind of like, all right, they're going to put that movie in. And maybe Missing Link is that movie for me this year. Maybe I would have preferred Frozen 2, right? But I am not extremely upset with the animated feature film category as I was a year ago, 2 years ago. It feels like every year there is some sort of major snub. But for me, Klaus getting in, it kind of makes up for it, man, because what a wonderful movie on Netflix. What a wonderful movie. And same thing with I Lost My Body. So two great choices. If you guys have not seen those films, definitely go check them out. Actress in a supporting role. And if you guys watched my reaction video, you know that this one kind of blew me away because I just did not expect it to go the way that it ended up going. Jennifer Lopez and Susan Zhao Missing out on this was a shock. A shock. And I'm not saying I'm super upset that Scarlett Johansson got in. I just didn't think she'd get a double nomination. That rarely happens in the Academy. Rarely happens. And Scarlett has never really been a favorite for the Academy Awards. It's her first nomination, but it's also her second nomination. So congratulations to Scarlett Johansson. That's pretty impressive, man. But for the ones that did not get in, and then you have a surprise like Kathy Bates, and don't get me wrong, I thought Kathy Bates' performance in Richard Jewell was great. But I thought Jennifer Lopez was so good in Hustlers, and Hustlers wasn't even one of my favorite movies of the year. I thought the movie was good, but her performance was great. And then she was in jail from The Farewell. That's the one that hurt my soul. But you know what? They did it. Nothing we can do about it. I wish Twitter would think that way. Nothing we can do about it. Let's move on. Actor in a supporting role, absolutely no shocks here. Everyone that got in was everyone that I expected to get in. Song Kang-ho from Parasite, though, that's the one for me. I thought there was a chance, maybe. They didn't do it. It's a bit of a bummer. And if you want to look at The Lighthouse, if you want to look at Pattinson, if you want to look at Dafoe, absolutely. Just didn't really think there was a chance for those two guys. But, man, what a bummer. What a bummer that some of those actors were overlooked. But this went the way that I thought it was going to go. Anthony Hopkins getting in. No surprise there. Actress in a leading role. So, yes, this was shocking when Awkwafina's name did not get called. And you guys saw my reaction. I kept saying, oh, Ronan's not going to get in. Oh, Charlize Theron's not going to get in. I did not think Awkwafina was going to be the one to get overlooked. What a bummer. For a movie like The Farewell. What a bummer. And also Lupita Nyong'o getting overlooked for Best Actress. I thought there was a good chance she would get in, possibly, over Cynthia Erivo, which is the shock for me because I didn't have her. I had her as my third honorable mention behind some of these other ladies, but it was interesting that she got in. You know, Scarlett Johansson, obvious. Zellweger, obvious. Theron and Ronan, even though I had them in my predictions, I thought maybe Awkwafina over them at a point, but no, it just, this is not going to go the way we think, and it sure did not. So that one was a bit of a shock, and this was probably my biggest, not shock. This wasn't my biggest shock of the day. We all have that category where we just sit back and we go, and this year it was actor in a leading role for me, you know. Leo was a lock, Adam Driver was a lock, Joaquin was a lock, and I'm not even arguing that hard against Antonio Banderas, right? And I love seeing the guy. I think Antonio Banderas is one of the best people in Hollywood right now. Such a good dude. But we look at who got snubbed in this category. We look at, we'll start with Christian Bale. We'll start a little bit lower. Christian Bale was so good in Ford v. Ferrari. We'll move our way up. We go to Robert De Niro getting snubbed for The Irishman. Pesci gets it. Pacino gets it. De Niro doesn't get it. Wow. I bet he's not feeling too good right now because if you ask me, I think he carried that movie. But we kind of slowly started to accept it. You guys saw in my last video, I started moving him down, who I think he was in my 5 spot. But once they called Banderas' name, I'm like, ooh, maybe Adam Sandler, and we'll talk about him here in just a second, but maybe he doesn't get it. But then maybe De Niro doesn't get it, and sure enough. But yeah, let's talk about Adam Sandler, man. The Sandman. This was my biggie. I was gonna be so thrilled if he got in for this film. Oh, you can tell I'm getting a little flustered. Right now. I just the lack of A24 love this year really hurts my soul. And Sandler not getting that nomination, man. This is such a bummer. Such a bummer. And he threatened to go make the worst movie of all time. Well, guess what, Hollywood? You did this to yourself if he goes and does that. So, yeah, major bummer Sandler didn't get in. And also major bummer that Edgerton didn't get in. You know, after Banderas got in and all the talk around De Niro, as we were going through the nominations video, I thought, all right, Edgerton, he's got the 5th slot. But Jonathan Pryce, you know, and I'm not appalled. I thought his performance was really, really good. He wasn't top 5 for me. It was top 10. And Two Popes wasn't a phenomenal movie to me. It was a good movie. You know, and a lot of people question all the time. It's like, well, you didn't want that person or movie to get in. Did you hate the movie? Did you hate the performance? And no, I like Jonathan Pryce. But to make it in over these other names, De Niro and Sandler and Edgerton, I'm just like, Okay. What do we do? This category, Best Picture, to me was the most obvious. Well, I can't say that because I was nervous the whole time they were announcing. I'm like, am I going to get all 9 correct? And I did get all 9 correct. But the reason I knew that at the beginning is because my 9, Ford v. Ferrari, was the first one they announced. So as they progressed through the announcements, I'm just like, they're going to do 9. Because sometimes they do 8. And obviously they can do up to 10. And it would have been nice to see my 2 honorable mentions in there. Knives Out and The Farewell. Again, The Farewell. Both movies, I think, deserved the Best Picture nomination, absolutely. But the Oscars is the Oscars, and they're going to do what the Oscars does. And they were, in my opinion, only going to do 8 to 9 this year, and that's exactly what they did. And it ended up being the movies that I thought. I can't say there's a major snub for Best Picture. Now, if you were to ask me, what is your personal opinion, what does that tell you? I would have said, well, obviously, Uncut Gems. The Lighthouse, Knives Out and The Farewell, absolutely. But I'll say this, guys, with all of the snubs that we've talked about, and I'm sure I have missed plenty, and if you guys have some for me and you think I'll feel the same way, definitely leave those in the comments down below. But this is the first time in a long time where I have liked to loved all of the movies nominated for Best Picture. That has not happened to me in years. Last year, there was one movie in particular, but a couple movies I was like, and the year before, But this year is the first time I'm like, yeah, all of these films are really, really good. And they're all in the top portion of all of the films I've seen this year. Would I have other movies over them? Yeah. I would put The Farewell over a few of these. I would put Knives Out over a few of these. I would absolutely put Uncut Gems over a few of these. But I'm not extremely upset because there's not that one film that's in there and I'm just like, ah. And I know for some that's going to be Joker, for some that's going to be 1917, for some that's going to be Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and that's absolutely okay. But if we're talking personal opinion for me, I'm not super upset about the Best Picture nominations. Am I upset that some of these other movies and people got snubbed? Sure, for sure. But here's the thing. We just have to accept who got nominated at this point. We just have to move forward with our predictions. We just have to move forward with how we feel this is going to end up. And we have to have fun with it. You know, now we have our noms. Let's have fun with the Oscars. And I want to do a really special thing on my channel. Maybe a little Gold Derby thing, I don't know yet, but I want to do like a giant Oscar pool. I'm going to try to figure out how to do it to where we can all kind of combine and see who outperforms the others. And I want to make this as much of a community-feeling thing as possible. So stay tuned. I'm going to be doing more Oscar videos for sure. Still have my predictions to come, so I'm excited about that. And most likely in that video is where I will announce what we'll do and how we'll go about doing that. So thank you all so much for watching this video. Like I said, if you enjoyed this, if you like what we're doing on this channel, smash that thumbs up button. We will try our best to do more and plenty more awards coverage to come. I want to talk about more, whether it's this, other award ceremonies, or whatnot. You guys are truly the best. I appreciate you for watching, and I'll see you soon.